So now we are waiting for maybe further 2-3 minutes. Let the other panelists join, and then we can initiate the discussion.
Hello, hello.
Now moving towards second theme of the session, that is strengthening research and developing indigenous technologies for Viksit Bharat 2047. Let me introduce our distinguished moderator for this panel discussion, Professor Ashutosh Sharma. Sir, I believe you don't need any introduction, but personally I wish to take up this opportunity to introduce you. Please grace the dais, sir. Professor Sharma is a visionary academician who has made some exceptional interdisciplinary contributions in nanoscience and nanotechnology fields. From 2015 to 2021, he served as Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. He is also the Institute Chair Professor and founding coordinator of DST Thematic Unit of Excellence on Soft Nanofabrication and also Chairman of Center for Environmental Sciences and Engineering at IIT Kanpur since 2006. He is a recipient of prestigious Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in Engineering Sciences for his original pioneering contributions to the understanding of the behavior of thin films and other highly confined nanoscale systems. He was elected as the President of Indian National Science Academy in 2022. Sir, we welcome you to the session. Panel experts for this session are Professor V. Ram Gopal Rao, Vice Chancellor, BITS Pilani, Professor Umesh V. Wagmare from JNCASR Bangalore, Dr. Anuradha Ganesh, Senior Technical Advisor, Cummins India, and Dr. Shankar Venugopal, Vice Chancellor, Mahindra and Mahindra. Requesting all the panelists to please grace the dais. Join us for the discussion. Our warm welcome to all the panelists and moderator for this discussion. Now requesting Professor Ashutosh Sharma to introduce panelists and also to initiate the discussion on this particular theme. Thank you, sir and ma'am, for joining us on this auspicious day. Thanks for your time.
I have it. You have introduced everybody? Huh? You have all four?
I have introduced you.
Oh, I introduced others. Okay. you don't want to do that on us? To introduce everybody? I'll do it. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the, I think it's the last session of today. So if you just keep awake another, I don't know, half an hour, or whenever you start feeling sleepy, just raise your hand and we can stop at that point. But this is a very interesting session, as you can see, and very interesting panelist here. Let me very quickly introduce the panelist here. Of course, you want to hear them. You don't want to just talk about them. right? So I would be very quick in introducing them. There is a whole book on each one of these panelists, but I would cut all that and make a very brief introduction. So Professor V. Ram Gopal Rao, first person to my left, he is a fellow of everything in this world. He is a senior, instead of repeating 10 different things, you see. I mean, this is the way to cut the chase. And he is a senior professor and group vice chancellor, is at, the great place, BITS Pilani. That we aspired to go to that place, all of us, but we couldn't make it because it's very elite. And Professor Ram Gopal Rao of course, he oversees all the BITS campuses, which are very many. So clearly he's a very important person. I think we better listen to him very well. And then he's internationally acclaimed researcher with over 500 publications, over 50 patents. If he were not sitting here all day long today, he would have 10 more papers. So he now 500 now, but it could be 510. Then, for his research accomplishment, Dr. Rao has been elected a fellow of IEEE, a fellow of the World Academy of Sciences, the Indian National Academy of Engineering, the Indian Academy of Sciences, and all the other academies. There are few others here. Then he's been recognized by every possible award, including Shanti Swarup, Infosys Prize. Oh, by the way, this Infosys Prize, it used to be for people below 50 years. Now it has been made for people below 40 years. So all of you guys sitting here, you got a good shot at it. Please remember, this is for younger people now. And Urvashi, did you note that? You better get down below 40 now, right? You get a shot at Infosys. Okay. No, I'll listen to you later. Okay, then, all right here. He's currently a chairperson, Council of Management for Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research in Bangalore, chairperson, Board of Governors for the National Institute of Food Technology in Haryana, and these are premier institutions of Government of India. So anyway, you see highly decorated, an activist, if you would, in the sphere of education and research, which is what we need more of them. Let me introduce our second panelist here, Dr. Shankar Venugopal. Oh, okay. So, okay. Now I should go in line here. Dr. Anuradha Ganesh. Okay, and she is Director and Chief Technical Advisor in Cummins, India. Dr. Anuradha Ganesh, Director, Chief Technical Advisor, and using STEM to advance social development and empowerment of women. This is fantastic. And, even I'm trying to do that. In Indian National Science Academy, there are 9% women fellows, or half of them over 75, which is good. Okay, now for advocating inclusion, equality, and diversity in engineering, for being a leader who supports a gender-balanced workforce, Anuradha Ganesh, PhD, is a global expert on alternate fuels, renewable energy, everything that our future hangs on. And a whole lot of other stuff is there. Throughout her career, Dr. Ganesh has worked toward women's equality. She organized the Indo-US workshop, Women Engineers Leading Global Innovation in 2012. Oh, that actually reminded me. I was the guy who organized the first Indo-US workshop ever. That was in 2002, I think, in nanotechnology. So fantastic. We got something in common. And she holds a BE in chemical engineering. Oh, there you are. I'm a chemical engineer. Chemical engineering from Punjab University and a PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, the certified Six Sigma Green Belt. And so very distinguished person indeed. And at least, you cannot accuse people sitting here to be a manel. It's not a manel, at least, So we have a role model, especially, engineers. There are not so many women in engineering who are role models, who have kind of cracked the glass ceiling. So this is great. I'm so delighted. Okay, now let me introduce the third panelist, who is Dr. Shankar Venugopal. Umesh Wagmare. I can't forget Umesh Wagmare. He is Dean Faculty Affairs at Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research. Hey, how many people here are below 30? Can you raise your hands? Okay, great. So, Dean Faculty Affairs, very important person. Anyway, he takes care of all the affairs also, of the things that happen. And he's in Theoretical Sciences Unit, Jawaharlal Nehru Center. Then he graduated with Institute Silver Medal. He totally deserved gold medal. But, sometimes luck catches up with us. Bad day, an exam, So he's silver medal in a BTech in Engineering Physics from IIT Bombay. Received a PhD in Applied Physics from Yale University in '96 and carried out postdoctoral research at Harvard University. He joined JNCASR, which is Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, as assistant professor in 2000. He had been adjunct professor in Brick Nanotechnology Center, Purdue University, a very well-known, famous place, and TIFR Mumbai, also equally well-known and great place. He is currently a professor in Theoretical Sciences Unit, where else? In Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research. And he has done great research. I know he's broken all the records in terms of citations for papers, stuff like that. H-index. How many people here know about a thing called H-index? You just raise your hand. You know H-index? H-index. Let me just tell you. But I was just looking at students, whether they know. So, higher the H-index, more you are respected. His H-index is very high, indeed. So, he got G.D. Birla Award for Scientific Research, which is given by K.K. Birla Foundation, Distinguished Alumnus Award, Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. You know how stiff the competition is getting into IIT Bombay? And if you are the distinguished alumnus of that place, it means you are top of the world, truly. Top of the, what we call the food chain in academia. So, C.N.R. Rao Prize Lecture, Materials Research Society of India, Infosys Science Prize, and I already introduced to you Infosys Science Prize. Okay, so thank you again, Umesh, for joining us. And okay, so now the last panelist, I'm delighted to welcome him, Dr. Shankar Venugopal, who is Vice President, Mahindra Research Valley, Chennai. Oh, I don't know. So there's a whole valley devoted to Mahindra's research? Wonderful. I only heard of Hydrogen Valley today. There are 3 of them now being established by DST. Dr. Shankar leads technology innovation for the automotive and farm services business. He heads the intellectual property and knowledge management functions. He's also the Dean of Mahindra Technical Academy. Shankar is passionate about developing sustainable urban mobility solutions. His current interests span across electrical vehicles, connected vehicles. Oh, I didn't even know there is such a thing, connected vehicles. They're connected with Wi-Fi? Or connected vehicles means what? Oh, so a car is a IoT, okay. Autonomous vehicles and precision farming. Shankar is active in Confederation of Indian Industries called CII and leads the CTO Forum as Chief Technology Officers Forum, bringing together technology leaders across the industry to share best practices on adapting new technologies and driving innovation. Well, I'll probably introduce to you a little bit later what innovation means. How many people here think they know what innovation means? What is innovation? Okay. We'll explain to that. So, okay, that's the introduction, short introduction to the panelists, very distinguished panel. Feel free to ask questions later. Totally, it's a great opportunity for all my younger friends to be able to connect with this very distinguished panel. What we'll do is, I will ask some pointed questions to each panelist. The same question goes to each panelist. And that I would, request them to be brief, to focus only on the important aspects, leave Bollywood out of it, and then give us some actionable points as much as possible, and we'll actually record it, and this would be so helpful in formulating some strategies to dealing with these things. So now we are discussing here R&D for indigenous technologies for VIKSIT Bharat. So keywords are basically R&D, indigenous technology and VIKSIT So VIKSIT we know, developed India. And so how do indigenous technologies help? How do we develop them? What are the weaknesses in developing them? Why have we not developed them so far? There must be a good reason why we have not developed it wholesale and retail. These are some of the questions that we would look at in turn. So let me get started with that. The first one, when we talk about indigenous technologies, first we need to understand what the problems are that we need to solve. So, this is a solution. We don't want a solution looking for a problem. We first need to understand the problem and then look for the solution. So now point is that oftentimes, professors working here, there are some scientists, we don't know what the problems are, and we sometimes don't know what the Indian problems are, if you would. Because, we read all the international journals and CO, Yale and Harvard and stuff like that. So we may often lose sight of what the real problems are. So how can academia develop this understanding of what the local problems are? This is one simple question to be framed like that. How does one match between the push of knowledge coming from academia to pull of knowledge from the industry? Okay, so what happens is me, professor, I develop my knowledge and then after that I go out and try to sell it. But there are no buyers there at that point because I had not consulted buyers before I started my knowledge quest. So this is the push of knowledge, but we want also the pull of knowledge from society and industry. How do we match these two expectations? And indeed, how do we know what problems need to be solved? This is a question. So I would start with Professor Ram Gopal Rao. Are we being recorded or somebody taking notes? Anybody here? Please take notes because this is going to be a very important white paper, right? Isn't it? Okay. So let's go ahead. Professor Rao.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for the introduction and for everything. I think if you look at, since morning, even the Honorable Minister was quoting a lot of rankings and other things, and then saying that, that is what you need to believe because that's a global benchmark and all that. If you look at the India's rankings, that tells all the story. We are ranked third for scientific publications. Of course, it all depends on which rankings you are looking at. Third for scientific publications, ranked ninth for citations in the world, right? We are ranked sixth for patent filings. We have improved on the patent filing score, but 40th for innovation. I personally feel there is nothing happy to feel that we are 40th for innovation. I mean, if you are ranked third for scientific research, why should we be ranked 40th for innovation? Innovation is all about generating value for knowledge, right? That you are using that knowledge somewhere, solving some problem. So there is absolutely no reason why we should be so poor on innovation and be happy that we are improving on the innovation thing. Much of that improvement is also because of that IT and other sectors where we are able to apply that knowledge. But if you look at the deep technology research and its application kind of a thing, we are nowhere. Hardly anything that is deep tech is actually getting commercialized in this country. But the more worrying things are, we are ranked 54th in the world today for percentage of GDP allocation for R&D, 54th in the world. We are one of the lowest spenders when it comes to providing money for researchers. And quantum mission, of course, is coming, and I think some of you seem to be happy, but finally how much money will come, how much money will get dispersed, all of those things we will have to wait and watch. So 54th for percentage GDP allocation for R&D, but the most worrying thing is we are ranked 66th for academia industry collaborations. 66th in the world for academia industry collaboration. It is taken from the same innovation report which gave India 40th rank. In fact, if you look at the finer points there, they also rank countries on the academia industry collaboration. So there lies all the problem, right? We are generating a lot of knowledge. Industry is not collaborating with academia, right? And if industry is not coming forward and asking us, what we are doing, why we are doing, we create our own problem, we solve it, we publish a paper, and we get whatever promotions that are due, whatever awards that are available, and move on with our life. I think that is the current situation of 95% of researchers in the country. We work on our own problems. And as he said, most of our research is solutions looking for a problem. So you have found a solution, now you only try to figure out where can I apply that problem. That is the situation with the Indian academia right now. Great people. In fact, if you look at the Indian academicians, some of the best in the world, there's absolutely no, need to look outside when you are looking for talent in academia. We have some of the finest brains, in the world actually. What do we need to do for solving that problem? So I'm saying all this out of my own experience. At IIT Delhi, where I was the director for 6 years, we did some of these things because I strongly believe in that. I have at least some technologies in the market now. Airports use the explosive detector that I worked in my group for 10 years. Delhi Airport, Bombay Airport, if you go beyond security checkpoint, the explosive detection technology is 100% indigenous technology. We started a company, NanoSniff, and NanoSniff is currently marketing them now, and they have gotten into at least 11 airports now. So I have done some of that. I know the challenges, and so therefore I tried to solve it in IIT Delhi. At a place like IIT Delhi, again one of the finest institutions, if there are 700 faculty members, they are working on 1500 research problems. So therefore, a lot of research happens, but very diffused, right? And everybody is working on their own kind of a problem. And the COVID was the best example. In COVID time, IIT Delhi actually contributed to a lot of technology development. Because all these 700 people, we told them, you cannot work on anything else, you have to work on something related to COVID. And the technologies IIT Delhi developed during the COVID period helped almost a few millions of people in the country, simply because of that focus that we could bring in. I think all that we need to do is connect these researchers to real problems, which is one thing DST needs to do, which DST is not doing, right? When did you last hear DST telling you to work on a problem? Happens once in a while when US agency comes and pushes them, or some foreign agency says we want to start a national program on that, but on its own, DST never sets any agenda, when it comes to defining the problem statements and saying that, you will get funding if you develop that, let's say a blood pressure monitoring device or a, non-invasive glucose testing. Those are the kinds of things that we need to do. So my last statement on that is we need to launch more and more initiatives in that country where we connect researchers with industry so that they can get those research problems from industry or with the society at large, right? A crowdsourcing kind of a platform where people post their problems, scientists, the farmers, whoever in the society, MSMEs, whatever problems they may have, they post their problems. Now you post those as problems to the academia. The third is strategic agencies. The DRDO, ISRO, DRDO has started to do that now, but DRDO was never open to collaborating with academicians. Thanks to Manohar Parrikar, he actually made DRDO to come out of its shell, started to collaborate with academia. A lot of good things are happening. ISRO is still very inward-looking organization. Of course, they involve academicians when there is a problem. If a satellite failure happens, they do get all the academicians to discuss and all that. But in general, ISRO is all inward-looking. They have their 11 or 12 labs. They do their own research. But that is where the problem actually lies. I think in the absence of anybody giving those right set of problem statements to the academia along with the funding, we generate our own problems. We are happy solving them. I think those connections we need to establish as national mission mode kind of an approach. I mean, connecting with industry, there needs to be at least 5 different programs. Connecting with strategic agencies, 5 different programs. Connecting with society, again 5 different programs. I think once we start orienting all these researchers towards real problems, I can tell you this country will actually become VIKSITBHARAT much earlier. And that is the biggest lacuna that exists in the Indian system. It is not the talent of people, it is not anything else. It's just that connect which is missing.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Anybody got questions here? Raise your hand. Anybody got questions? Good, because if you raised your hand, I would have told you to wait. So anyhow, you can think about a question now and ask later. Professor Rao said something about DST, which I totally ignored. It's a good thing I'm out of DST, else he would not escape here alive. But anyhow, okay. So next thing that I go to the next panelist.
You can call me
Dr. Anuradha Ganesh, please respond to that. So here is the industry perspective. I mean, it's not totally industry, but at least industrial R&D and the knowledge sector response to our question.
First of all, thank you so much. And secondly, I just realized that I should have updated my LinkedIn because what was spoken about me was a very age-old thing. And I belong to both the academia and the industry. I was at IIT for 25 years and then I shifted to the industry. So I have both the perspectives and I've learned a lot. And you talked about me working with the women, and I'll give you an example, especially in context of this question. To start with, I have one sentence to make. That's my key sentence. We do a lot and we talk a lot about when we develop technology, we say, what is the outreach? We forget that the very first step is to reach out. So, instead of always talking about outreach, if we can think about reaching out to find out what is the problem which we need to solve, that will really help. And what do I mean by that? I'll just tell you. I'll give you an example. When I started working on bio oil. Okay, that's a time when everyone was talking about biodiesel. The whole world was talking about bio oil. And obviously I was at IIT. I also wanted to do research on that. And we did science. At that time, we were trying to understand science, understand bio oil. How do we convert that? Can we use it without converting it by doing some, better heat transfer treatments, etc. However, the moment you talk about technology, science is exploring. You can do whatever you want to find out. But the moment it comes to technology development, then you have to go to the customer. Now, be it the industry who's going to finally sell it to the customer or go to the customer directly to find out. In my case, it happened to be the customer who was both the industry and the rural one, because this was specially for rural applications. That was the mandate. And that's where we thought, okay, we'll develop an engine with full ensuring it's conforming to the emission standards. We did that. We took it to the village. We searched for a village which does not come under that, one pole electrification thing. And that's to our surprise, they didn't want electricity. They said, who says, humko nahi chahiye. Whenever we want to celebrate, we hire a diesel engine and we do our dhol and it is done. So it took us time, and it was not the men who finally understood. It was the women, because the girl child had to study at night. It was the women who understood that they need electricity. Now we said, okay, we here have this engine. You have current so much, extract the oil. That's the time when you realize no point in making an engine. They don't have an oil extraction ghani out there. So you develop an oil extraction ghani technology which is easy for them. Then you realize, okay, they collected, they don't have a depodding machine. So you develop a depodding machine. So what happens is, when we try to develop a technology, we just look at that. Science is okay, but when we look at a technology, it is a system that needs to be developed. It's something you need to reach out to the right customer to find out what that customer really needs. And it's not just there, sir. It is even in today's date when we are talking about hydrogen. We are talking about bio-route for hydrogen. We are saying we can make hydrogen out of biogas plants and biogasification plants. So 30 years we have not had a biogasification plant which is commercial. But we have gone the next step of saying we will use it to make hydrogen. We have still not solved the problem of how do we get the biomass, how do we transport it, how do we cut it, how do we save it. So what I'm saying is, we as academicians, we have, even if a problem is given, it is that problem that we solve. It cannot go to the industry or to the commercialization aspect unless we don't look at the other technologies which needs to be developed indigenously. Now I'll bring in one more factor here. Say the biogas plants. Now when there was a big thrust on bioenergy and there was that bio program by MNRE and DST, there was a lot of funds which was given to develop the biogas plants. All right, and after I retired from Cummins, when I started getting back to my original subject, so I did a research on just to find out where the technology is. And to my disgust, the biogas plants were working, but it was not economically viable because no one worked on the compressor technology. Compressor is too small. The MSMEs want that compressor. We want to do advanced technology. The compressor technology is coming from Germany. And same problem happened during COVID also. We realized that it wasn't easy for us to make an indigenous compressor. So I think something like what IIT Madras is doing now, where we are doing very detailed energy auditing, but it's not necessarily only to find out how to reduce, but actually identifying those technologies which require indigenous development, and that can bring in a sea change in the entire technology systems, integrated systems. So with that, I'll stop here. All I'm saying is we need to reach out rather than just looking at how far we can go in the outreach. Let's do the first step before we think of the final step. That's what I
Right.
would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh, that this is really very insightful about solving problem holistically, understanding problems holistically, because just, solving one part of it, you're not going to solve the problem. So it's like a chain. Is the weakest link in the chain determines the strength of the chain. It's not the strongest link. And so therefore, thank you very much for bringing that insight into solution to problems. We now go to Professor Umesh Wagmare to address his thoughts, to give his thoughts.
Thank you, Ashutosh. First of all, I wish you all happy National Science Day. And I thank Dr. Rashmi Sharma and also Dr. Praveen for the invitation and their teams. The two panelists have already made very important points in this regard, and I certainly agree with those. My single take-home message on this is the data is very important, okay? And if we are talking about indigenous technologies, the problems which are specific to India, we need concrete data on various resources in India, the geographical distribution, gender, water quality, agriculture, urban mobility, migrants, and so on. Yeah? So this is, I'm just giving few examples, but I think the key is data. Data is wealth, and the rate at which data is being generated today is humongous. And our ability to understand the data is also growing rather fast, thanks to the artificial intelligence and machine learning. So data is going to be, in my view, an integrating factor which will connect people or the stakeholders like from industry, from academia, from society, as well as from government. Yeah? So there could also be, let me give you an example of Arogya Setu, which had certain flaws, but it served a fantastic purpose of using data about the sort of infections around and taking some concrete steps. Sorry, you said something, Ashutosh? Or? No, did you ask something? Or? Yeah, okay, all right. Okay. So let me give an example now, which I think really depends on data. Rare diseases, rare genetic disorders. Yeah? And India is a very diverse country, huge population. And although these are called rare diseases, we have a large number of them and quite a variety of them. And no other country's data or literature is going to help us in tackling a problem like this. So what I, by the way, also represent here the Indian Academy of Sciences. And we have brought out a special issue of a journal, which is like a white paper, on Indian research landscape on rare genetic diseases. This is going to be very valuable because this brought together clinicians, it brought together researchers, and also the patients and social observers of this particular problem. And bringing all the people, relevant people together and getting their views through the actual data that they had was very important in coming up with sort of guidelines which I think will be useful for government in designing policies to address some of these issues and develop a plan to address rare genetic disorders in the country. So I'll stop now by saying that there is a huge scope in having data, setting up data, database of problems which are contributed by industry, by society, by also the researchers, and sort of using also not only human intelligence but also artificial intelligence in coming up with plans and solutions, which should also involve social scientists, because many problems, for instance, today our population is largely youth. In 2047, most of them would have aged. Okay, so the demographics will change. So data has to be time dependent and to be analyzed in coming up with dynamic solutions and development of changes, evolving the policy which adapts to the changing ecology. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Wagmari, very insightful indeed. And thinking of data, as you have all heard, data is a new oil and stuff like that. You see, I observed something a few years ago, and I want to leave this thought with you. The map that we use, they have our data on those maps. Our data, our land data is what makes the map. Our data, our people sitting in Bangalore make those digital maps, but we don't make the money. Money is made by another company. So can somebody explain to me this paradox as to why, when you have all the science and technology at your fingertips, you have all the human resources which are trained to make them, right? Why is it that it's not India that makes money from those maps? Anybody got solution, understanding of this will get one chocolate that I'm carrying with me today. I carry 5 chocolates every day. I give it to people who give right answers, me being a professor. So anyhow, see, if you understood this problem, you will understand a whole lot more about what really happens in science and technology. Okay, so I invite now Dr. Shankar Venugopal to contribute his insights.
Sure, sir. So I'll build on what the fellow panelists said so far in terms of analyzing the problem and telling what really is the issue, what are the gaps. Specifically, I will pick up one point which Professor Ram Mohan Rao mentioned, that if you are world number 6 in filing patents, maybe we should be world number 6 in the innovation also. But we are not. We are world number 40 in innovation. So what is the gap? Why doesn't these patents really translate to being on top of the world in innovation? What really is the gap is where I would like to start the whole discussion with. So I am based at a place called the Mahindra Research Valley, where we build new products with a focus on mobility, very specific. And on an average, we file about 3 patents every single day of the year. And we get 1 patent granted every day. Thanks to the patent office, it's been really very, very efficient. And so we get 1 patent granted every day of the year. But when you look at all the patents we have accumulated over the years, I would confidently say more than 80% of this goes into the products that we build and sell it in the market. Because we have to protect. Whatever innovations we put in our products, we have to protect it. And patent is the best way to do that. So all the patents directly translate to differentiated new product and revenue that's made by the company. So if we want to really make patents valuable, we should be solving the most critical problems, and we should be working with partners who can take these patents into products and get it to the market. This industry does it fairly routinely. They are pretty good at it. But where they struggle is technology is something very readily available. They can quickly convert it into an application and take it as a product. But when it comes to long-term technology development, developing a new technology, they need an academic partner. Without an academic partner, an industry on its own cannot build new technologies because it's long-term effort and it needs a very different mindset. So that's where we focus on how to really come up with meaningful industry-academia collaborations so that this will translate to more patents and more applications and monetization of these patents. So I'm going to just share 3 ideas that really work for us. Because it was a long journey, many ideas didn't work. But today I'll share 3 ideas that really work for us. One was, if we walk into IIT or IIC and talk to a professor and say, can we collaborate can we work on some technology together? It's not a very easy discussion because the industry's priorities are quite different from the academic priorities. The time frames are also quite different. So we thought, how can we understand each other's world in a better way so that we can think together and come up with proposals and collaborations? So we came up with mini and micro sabbaticals where a person from the university can come to the Mahindra Research Valley, spend 4 to 6 weeks on an ongoing program. During those 6 weeks, that professor will be like any other Mahindra employee, deeply engaged in the technology projects, participating in every single discussion, and seeing how decisions are made, why certain ideas are dropped, why certain ideas are taken forward. So the academician is spending 6 weeks in the industry in a very deeply immersed mode and trying to really understand what goes into the thought process, what will get accepted by the industry. Then this person goes back, understands how the industry is thinking, and then comes up with a joint research proposal to say, let's work together based on this kind of ideas. Here is the second catch. Industry is ready to fund application-oriented work, but when it comes to basic research, industry is very reluctant to fund. So how do we get over this gap? This is where the industry-relevant research that DST is SERB, and I used to work closely with Professor Ram Mohan Rao during that stint, where we used to screen a lot of ideas, the model that the basic research government will fund, the applied research the industry partner will fund. That was a brilliant, brilliant idea because that is one of the biggest challenge and that could be easily be overcome. And also it ensures that the technology, once it is developed, there is an industry partner who is ready to do the further work and take it to market. I think we need more of those models and more of those projects to really translate the technology from the lab into products in the market. The third idea is creating technology roadmap and sharing it with the university partners. Because industry is always looking at what they need today, maybe for the next quarter and maximum 1 year. But many times academia is also interested in long term, which is 5 years and 10 years from now. So when the automotive industry talks to the IITs or IISc, it's important for them to share what we want to do 5 years, 10 years, and possibly 20 years. That roadmap is very important because there could be professors who are interested in solving immediate problems. There could be professors who are interested in solving long-term problems. So we should be able to engage with all of them and realize this roadmap together. So I think it's very important for us to scale up all these three modes. One is in terms of bringing the two worlds of academia and industry closer together. Second is having appropriate funding models which make sense for both parties to invest and see the return on the investment. And the third is a long-term approach where you can come up with a balanced portfolio of short-term projects and also long-term projects which will keep everybody happy in the long run. I think these three ideas I see a lot of promise. Sure.
Well, we asked for one but got 3 ideas. That's fantastic. Buy one, get 2 free. Right? Thank you so much. Totally appreciate it. Now, okay, so I want to address my younger friends here, and I want to assure them that this would be the last question that we would take up. Okay, because I see people are fiddling, they're getting impatient, they're saying, what's going on here? Okay, so I think, just now wake up, pay a little attention, because this is the last question. Okay, and then we can go home. Right? So, what's the next question? Next question is, something I just want to, share with the younger guys, girls. Is, hey, look, we hear a lot of stuff about innovation. They say innovation is so important, we must be innovative, we must do all that. Now, but the point is, what is innovation? How do we do it, right? If I ask this question to a whole lot of my grown-up friends, scientists and so on, about 82% did not know what innovation means. So I want to introduce this and then ask my next question so you can understand what I'm asking and what the answers are. So, so let me define what is innovation. And I must define also invention, discovery. Invention basically is a box. In a box, In this box, money comes in and knowledge goes out. Okay, like our school, college, our R&D labs, our universities, our IITs, everything. This is a box in which government money comes in, sometimes comes from industry also, and knowledge goes out. Huh? Innovation is exactly opposite of that. Exactly opposite. Means another box in which knowledge flows in and money flows out. Okay, see, transform, this is like a chemist, very good chemistry, that you convert knowledge into money, right? So invention different, innovation different. People often confuse between the two, and so therefore we are not able to solve our problems. Innovation requires a different mindset and different skills than invention. A good scientist is not necessarily a good person who can convert ideas into money. That's why we have startups. So only third thing I would define is called startups. So how do we tell what is a startup in terms of invention and innovation? Is it invention? Is it innovation? What is it? Actually, a startup is a hybrid entity. So this is another box, which is between two boxes. So it is a startup. One side of this box is knowledge, right? Knowledge coming in, so which is invention. The other side of that box is money, innovation, so market. So it's a startup which bridges between knowledge and market. And so if we are poor in any of these aspects, if we don't have a great, relevant knowledge with direction and quality, then we'll not get too much money out of it. I take that back. I've seen really bad ideas make money. Anyways, but you need good knowledge. But at the same time, you need to understand the marketplace. Most of the startups fail because they have a great idea, but no understanding of market, which means KYC, know your client, know your customer. Okay, I put it KYC here, know your customer, right? So if we don't know that, then no matter how great that idea is bound to fail. So now having introduced the concept of invention, innovation, and startup, and this is all the future, right? So we will get rich as a nation and as a society, if we get really into innovation. Now, so my next question to our panelists would be that, look, all this innovation is happening, startup is happening. In 2015, there were less than 100 registered startups in this country. Today, more than 100,000. 3 orders of jump in just these 9 years, right? So now what we want to say is something very critical. And this is the last question that we would attend to. So I'll also request panelists to be a little bit brief and, have some very specific ideas that we can note down. And so the question is, what are the gap areas, really gap areas, in our innovation and startup ecosystem, and therefore what new schemes and policies might be needed? I mean, I don't want people to be comprehensive about it because you can write 2 Mahabharat on it. But basically, I'm saying just give one idea maybe, each panelist 1 or 2 ideas about, look, what are the critical gap areas in our innovation and startup ecosystem, and how do you fill those gaps by new schemes and policies of the government or government public-private partnership, either way. Okay, so here we got ball rolling, and so I reached my first panelist, who is Dr. Professor Ram Gopal Rao, and please go ahead.
I think startups can act as a bridge between academia and industry. This can be a new model for India. If you look at India, we have skipped this landline generation and directly went to mobile. The same thing can happen when it comes to academia-industry collaborations. We put startups in between. Industry would like to collaborate with startups. Academia now would want to churn out more and more startups. So they can actually act as a good bridge between academia and industry, which is the missing link right now between research and innovation. You bring industries closer to academia, I can tell you a lot of things will get resolved, in this country. And unfortunately, in this country, we are waiting for some love marriage to happen between academia and industry. That's not happening. We have waited for 75 years, that love is not developing. I think we need to arrange a marriage and then hope that they will find their love. I think that is how it will work now. And for that, you need a lot of Government of India schemes. I mean, industry would not just like that come and do that. Even policies, for example, right? I mean, what is the incentive for industry to collaborate with academia? That CSR, some percentage. Now, that percentage of CSR, there are 5 things they can do. Academic collaboration is just one of them. I think it's not working out. Unless we mandate that industry would contribute some money to, academic research, right, or this innovation in academia, I don't think industry is going to come forward and do anything. I think time has come for us to mandate a few things so that, eventually that arranged marriage will result in some love and things will be fine afterwards. I think the one program which I started at IIT Delhi for the deep tech startups is something which I believe, must be done at the national level. I called it FIRE, F-I-R-E, Faculty Innovation and Research Driven Entrepreneurship. At IIT Delhi, we said any faculty member who wishes to start a company, because we wanted to make faculty start companies. That is where the Lakshmi and Saraswati will come together. Deep tech startups, not everybody can do that, right? For deep tech startups, you need deep research also, somebody must have carried out. That is where the faculty can come in. So we said any faculty member who wants to start a company, IIT would give 50 lakh rupees as a grant. Equity investment, it's not a grant, it's actually equity investment. And within 3 years of time, they need to, we said some 18 months time, they need to convert their research into a startup. And IIT will bear the costs of, the entire development of prototypes and all of that. And that is what we did. Lot of faculty came forward, to take that money and to do that startup kind of a thing. I mean, during my time, some departments, every 5th faculty member had their own successful startups. Because that was the incentive that was required for them to do that. We also said you can take sabbatical to do startups. Until now in IIT, sabbatical is meant to go abroad, and then teach in some university. But we said if you want to do a startup, you can also take sabbaticals, right? That's also one thing which we did, which also made a huge difference in terms of faculty startups. In BITS Pilani, we started a program called, the PhD Drive. We are saying why should PhD programs be to produce university professors, right? Why should all PhD programs are to become professors? PhD programs can also be to, come up with startups. So what we are essentially doing in the BITS system is we are paying them 50% more stipend, and we are connecting them with the industries, with the VCs, and on problems where they have reached a TRL 4 or 5. Meaning already a proof of concept is done. You assign a PhD student to that problem. You bring in the VCs, you bring in the industries. There is a faculty member. By end of that PhD, can you start a company out of that idea? So now we are admitting, this year we will admit at least 30 PhD students, because that's the money we could generate from VCs and angel investors and industries and all of that. I think some of these orienting our PhDs towards startup development, orienting our faculty to incubate companies through national level programs can make wonders in this country, because all our talent resides in these academic institutions. They need to be oriented first, and they will take care of all the VIKSITBHARAT and everything. Because that has to start in the academic institutions.
Fantastic. Professor Ram Gopal Rao himself has done so much for, deep tech, and he has introduced another box, PhD in, businessman out. Fantastic. What alchemy. Yeah, thank you so much. And now, yes, we go to Dr. Anuradha Ganesh. Your thoughts about what are the weak points in our innovation startup ecosystem, and what scheme policies would you like to see to address them?
Okay. It's an interesting question, because it's something which we have been attempting for long, and it's an experiment. So I have a thought. There are some technologies which can go to the startup level immediately, but there are some science and technologies which needs an intermediate level of pilot plants. It's very difficult for it to go to the startup, especially hardcore, technologies, not the type which he does, but the type that I do. Let's be very clear on that. So there, it is necessary to have a Fraunhofer type of intermediate institutions where the faculty can probably go on deputation and see if he can he or she can set up a pilot plant and then take off from there. That is number one. Startup is very necessary, but there may be a requirement of an intermediate. Startup may not be a good idea immediately because all these reactors and all these sort of things need one scale-up level. That is number one. Number two, one very important thing which I have started speaking to the research students now, and I'm giving talks on this, is I think the PhD students have forgotten what skills they are developing. In 4 years' time, they only remember their PhD and they apply for jobs or startups. They are so scared about it because they feel they know only that one little part. What they have forgotten is they are a fantastic managerial skills, fantastic communication skills. You know, they know how to handle ego. They know how to do with very minimal resources. There are so many skills that the PhD students develop, which is actually the 90% of the skill that they develop, and only 10% is their research. I strongly believe, because it's a research problem which is a case study for the student who over 5 years is solving it, but he's learning so many things in between. So with that, if we can give an additional flavor towards the end, when he or she is just finishing, give a financial education to that person, it may help in better, successful startups. That's my take, very clearly.
Yeah, no, that's a very important, useful thought, because you need an intermediate structure, like you said, Fraunhofer, for translational purposes, which cannot be done in academic setting. So it needs some buffer, if you would, layer. It's a lot like, you guys know oil and water don't mix, right? How do you make them mix? Anybody knows? I got a chocolate waiting. Anybody know how to mix oil and water? Is by adding soap to it or surfactant. Surfactant, when you add it, so these entities are basically like the surfactants and soap molecules that make business and academia mix. You need an interface layer which makes them compatible with each other. Very good thought. You need an intermediate kind of structure to take care of it. Oh, by the way, guys, here, younger guys, listen. Here, you see, if you want to solve any problem, you should become a chemist. You know why? Because they have all the solutions. I will also tell a joke about physicists later. Huh? If you stay awake, I mean, of course, I prefer chemistry, but I'll tell you about physics also.
These are all ChatGPT jokes?
ChatGPT joke. I'll tell you about ChatGPT. Yes. Okay. So now we go, Professor Wagmare.
I'll be quite brief on this. First of all, the fact that number of startups has gone up by 3 orders of magnitude in a short time, I think, and the other indicator is, if you ask the young students, most of them like to go for startup type prospects these days. I don't think there is any gap from any one side to sort of promote creation of startups. I think what will help is if there is some mentorship or consulting which can guide these youngsters or others who start a startup company and sort of come up with explanation why they fail or what are the indicators where they are going to slip. I think that will be helpful. The last point I want to make is, kind of startups that Dr. Anuradha mentioned, I was involved in some of this, and the venture capitalists would like to invest money if and only if one of the co-founders, like a faculty member, is willing to quit job. They not sabbatical. They want to make sure that you are willing to put your life on this, and then I will put my money in this startup so that it will succeed. So that's a little tough to happen, but that's an unfortunate reality. Thank you.
Wow, that was really quick. Now if somebody can actually summarize what he said, you know what you will get. Okay? But I think this was very useful information indeed. And other aspect of all of this is, I meant to do innovation and stuff, a lot of risk taking, that's why I said risk taking. Some innovator, some startup person was telling me, you bureaucrats, at that time I was a bureaucrat unfortunately, Your neck is not on the chopping block. So you get your salary, but I have to feed my family and stuff. So unless you have very right kind of policies, and people cannot take risk, so you have to also do some risk mitigation through your policies and through your support that the government gives. So I just think about what kind of policies and schemes would be needed to mitigate this risk in some ways. As far as risk taking is concerned, you see that society as a whole is very risk averse. We do jugaad, we do dhanda, but no panga at all, right? It's a very risk averse. And I keep telling people, my younger friends, I say it's better to have loved and lost than not to have loved at all. Okay, so it's about risk taking. And we don't take risk, we gain nothing out of it. And I think all the hope is with now this generation sitting here to take risk. By the way, when I was sitting there, I was told the same thing. Okay, and I took no risk in my life. But I hope you will do better, take risk, do this, and create opportunities for yourself and for others. So, okay, now we move to the last panelist, Dr. Shankar Venugopal, and his thoughts about the weakness and solution for it.
So, sir, you talked about innovation as a box where knowledge comes in and money goes out. So, in the industry, we try a lot of such ideas, and some of them money comes out and some of them money doesn't come out, it becomes a black hole and just vanishes. So as I keep on doing this in different domains, multiple ideas, slowly the box becomes less and less opaque. You get to see what is there inside the box, really, over time. We can see at least two boxes inside that box. One is, how does this knowledge get translated to value as perceived by the customer? Because we may think it's value, but the customer should see it as value. Then he or she is ready to pay for it. That is one box. Second box is, even if this translates to value, still, when you are trying to take it from lab to market, there will be so many barriers that the idea may get killed in any of these barriers. So how do you safely cross all these barriers and take it to the market? So these two boxes are there within this box of innovation. And in the industry, you don't have much of a choice. You can't just sit under a tree and wait for apple to fall and then innovation happens. No, you have to do every day in a scalable way on demand. So two things I want to share which is really helping us to manage this process effectively. One is, there is a lot of science and there is a lot of structure to the way we can come up with ideas and make sure these ideas make money. So we use methods like TRIZ, which is theory of inventive problem solving, and design thinking. Every single engineer at the Research Valley is trained on all these things. In the first 1 or 2 months they spend at the place. This is something that can be even taught in our schools and colleges. It's not rocket science. The younger you are, the faster you will understand and apply it, not only to technical problems, even to life's problems you can apply and see value out of it. So this is one thing I want to bring up here, how we can start teaching innovation in a very structured manner right from school onwards. Second is, there is only so much you can read and learn. Second is to have mentors. Mentors are key to helping you, holding your hand and taking you from the knowledge side of the box to the money side of the box. So you need mentors who have done it, who have learned it the hard way, and who are ready to hold your hands and walk along with you. So we need to make mentors available for people, whether you are at school, college, or in the industry. We need to make a network of mentors available to them. I think these two can help us a lot.
Thank you very much indeed. There was much talk about boxes, and I was greatly inspired by that. Once you understand a box, then you look inside, there are more boxes, even out of box. There are more boxes outside and inside. Oh, by the way, so, when all this talk about innovation and startup is finished, don't believe all of it. So what I'm trying to tell you is something out of box. If each person on this planet had a startup which succeeded, the planet will be ruined. That's my final takeaway to this session. And so what is it that we are saying? Look, there are two kinds of economies in this world. What is called extractive economy, which means, hey, to hell with the rest of the world. I'm going to maximize my profit. And that is how, for the last 2 centuries, we have operated in this world. Now it is leading up to climate change, environmental degradation. It's leading up to having problems with sustainable development and so on. And the reason I'm saying all this is because I see that, I would be gone by that time, but you guys are going to face it in your lifetime. So therefore, I'm saying, all this talk about making a lot of money, converting knowledge into money, etc. is very good. Don't take it as a gospel. So it is about responsible development, it's about responsible way of converting knowledge into economy, and which is why I said there's a thing called extractive economy, which means, Chicago School of Economics at the turn of last century, which basically said, look, greed is good, consumption is richness, and happiness equals consumption. All of this is wrong. Okay, let me just say that squarely. How do I know it's wrong? Because I've lived 63 years in this world, and I have seen about 60,000 people with different kind of backgrounds. So always remember that this is good. We want to do good, but at the same time, we want to do good in terms of economy and development, but we want to be good to ourselves and to our neighbors. So this extractive economy is going to fail, or we are going to fail, either way. But so what is the option? So this stuff is coming up, it's called the life economy. So, you put life first, you make less profit, but you make sure that, that there is a profit as a whole to the planet, not to a particular person or entity. So these are two different concepts, and I'm sure as you evolve in your life, as you take your journey of life forward, that you will see more and more of it. And I wish you all the very best, people who could have stayed in here till the end of this thing. I think we deserve a joke. All of you are scientists here? I mean, have science background here? You have a science background? So why scientists do not trust atoms? Do you know that? Scientists, they don't trust atoms. That's it. You get my last chocolate. That's it. So did you hear me before? A bar, yeah, that's right. So anyway, we consider the same chat GPT. And okay, so here is the answer. Why scientists do not trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Atoms. Okay, so we'll finish here. Thank you very much for your patience and everything. Let's get together again next year on this day. Thank you. And I wish to also, put on record people who made all this possible. Dr. Rashmi here, sitting here. Great event that we had unfolding from the morning till now. All the DST officers who are here, all the panelists who have been here, contributing their wisdom without even charging any honorarium. So we are not part of extractive economy. We are part of the life-centered economy. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, sir. Now the session is open for questions, if any. Now I wish to invite Dr. Rashmi Sharma to felicitate the speakers and moderator. Ma'am, please felicitate moderator of the session, Professor Ashutosh Sharma. Professor Ashutosh Sharma. One of the panelists, Professor V. Ram Gopal Rao. Panelist Professor Umesh V. Wagmare. Dr. Anuradha Ganesh. and Dr. Shankar Venugopal. Now it's time to thank all the panelists and moderators for insightful discussion on development of indigenous technologies for near future. I also thank audience present here for their precious time. Thank you one and all.